and welcome to my channel. I am Stephanie, and this is my series, Let Me Introduce You. As I said, this is my series of Let Me Introduce You, the interviews with authors, my favorite authors, as well as authors that I recently found, new to me authors, and people and authors that I think you guys should go check out. So at this time, let me introduce you to the amazing Aleatha Romig. Aleatha, please tell us about you.
I'm Aleatha Romig, and I love Stephanie, and I think she is fantastic. And I think we met because we saw your YouTube the first time when you had read Consequences, which is my first series. I now have about 45 titles out, and I love writing romance. I love writing thrillers. I like to put them together. I like my romance to be I like them to have to work really hard to get to their HEA. So I recommend you read my books.
So let's talk a little bit about where you got started. What brought you to becoming a writer?
You know, the long story in a shortened version is that I kind of always wanted to write a book, but I was a dental hygienist. I was a mother of 3 children. Well, I still am, but they're adults now. And I was busy. I worked 6 days a week. We were busy with sports and color guard and everything. So we were, going one way and the other. And then all of a sudden, our world kind of stopped. In 2018, my husband was laid off. And he had to start working nights. So he works the 3rd shift at Meijer, which is like a Walmart. Mm-hmm. And I was left alone with our youngest son because our other 2 were off at college. So it was like, oh, I'm all by myself. I could either like sit on the couch and eat potato chips and, drink, or I could maybe sit down and write a book. My daughter later said that she's a psychology major. And she said, I couldn't control my own world. So I was trying to control Claire's. And that was kind of my therapy, was writing Tony and Claire's story. And that's where it all started. I never thought it would lead to what it has led to.
That's amazing. So I have and absolutely love the Consequences series. That was my first book for you, which is your first book, and was completely intrigued and drawn into the story. So where did you find the inspiration to write that besides your daughter?
Well, I honestly thought I was writing a psychological thriller. I really didn't think I was writing a romance. And even when it was done, I thought it was a psychological thriller. And it was, where did I get the idea? I like thrillers. I love, that's what I primarily read. I do read some romance, but I mostly read thrillers. And that's what I thought I had done. I had no idea it was going to be 5-book series or, go on. It was the people on Goodreads who all of a sudden found it and loved it, and they wanted to know more. They wanted everything to work out. And I was like, I thought it was done, but okay, we'll write more. So I just, I don't know where it all came from. I really don't. I just started, with all of my books, I'm not a plotter. I just kind of let the characters take over.
Nice. Okay. So you're not a plotter, which means you're a pantser. You kind of free will it.
Yep.
So what is your ideal sort of writing environment?
Quiet. I don't have music going. I don't have anything. I'm quiet. Everything's quiet. If you want to be around me, you have to be quiet. I have a 25-year-old son who lives with us, and he doesn't appreciate that. But when mom's working, it's quiet.
Is it morning, noon, night, or is it 24/7 whenever it strikes you?
Honestly, I'm more of a morning person. Truth was totally written in the middle of the night because I was working 6 days a week, and my husband was working 3rd shift. So I could get up in the middle of the night and I could write. I would put my younger son to bed. I would lay down for a couple hours. I'd get up, and then I'd work until about 5 in the morning. And then if I could sleep for like an hour to 45 minutes before I had to go to work or get up to go to work, then I just kept doing it. So Truth was written primarily in the middle of the night. But now that I'm a full-time author and I get to pick my hours, I'm a morning person. By the time it's like 6 or 7 o'clock comes around, I'm done. My brain's just like, no more. So I just
So what's your start time then? If you're,
It depends. I mean, if I'm really in a writing mode, I could be up at 5 a.m. writing. If I'm not in a writing mode, I mean, like if I'm not that early, then I'm, probably by 9 at the latest.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So what is some of your comfort sort of writing items to go along with being early morning?
Coffee, and then it goes to iced tea. So caffeine, I guess. There's a lot of caffeine. I guess just a comfortable chair, a quiet room, good temperature. We live part of the year in Florida, and I'm going to just switch you around a second and show you like my view so you can get to it.
Lovely.
So I mean, I'm just sitting in here, and when my door is open, there's a little waterfall out there, and that's what I hear. So, yep.
Okay.
Love
it.
Yeah. And when I'm in Indiana, it's, I mean, not quite the same, but it's, if I were there right now, it would be snow outside, so I wouldn't be showing you the view.
Right. So where do you find inspiration for your stories? You have a great list of stories, and they range from all sorts of subgenres. So where do you find that inspiration? Do you find it through real life experiences, or do you find it through television and celebrities?
I think both. I think sometimes, you'll be talking to somebody and they'll say something and you're like, oh, I could put that in a story. Or you're watching a TV show or a movie, or even listening to music, which I'm not a huge music person, but there's a lot of times it's just like something hits you and you're like, oh, that would work. I think I also, I really enjoy certain things. Like I like the mafia, like I love my sparrows and all that kind of stuff. And then down in New Orleans, I'm really enjoying my new series. I think it just kind of like, again, it builds, and I let the characters do so much of what happens that I look forward to sitting down to find out what they're going to do next.
Okay, so that brings me to a question that I've been wondering about. So Consequences is mainly written in Claire's sort of perspective and her voice and everything like that. And many of your newer releases and recent books are dual perspective and both characters. Is that something that changed as you were writing now through all the different books and stuff like that? Did both characters start to talk to you, or was that
yes? But I do something, I don't know if you've noticed this, but like in my series, say Infidelity and the Sin series, we've got Knox and we've got Van.
Right.
They only get a couple chapters in the first book, so they're more mysterious. And then as the books progress, they get more and more chapters. But I think that was part of Tony's allure, was that people didn't know what he was thinking, and they wanted, they were trying to figure him out. And I think that if they would have known what he was thinking, I would not be here today.
This is very true, because once you did the Through My Eyes novellas and sort of gave us those little pieces of different situations that we definitely needed or wanted to know what Tony was thinking, we were like, we would wish, I know I would wishy-wash back and forth to I don't like him anymore. Tony is not my favorite character, and I am not a fan of him right now. Once I read those. So what makes you write these, in the end, amazing anti-hero sort of male characters?
I like them. I really do. I enjoy them. I enjoy seeing them bloom a little bit. It's not all about them just being like macho alpha or anything like that. It's more about how when they find that perfect person, it changes their life. And I think it works both ways for the girl too. And I like to have strong female characters. But I want the same thing. I want them to grow together, not have it be like he still stays this person and she still stays this person. Because when you come together, you become a couple, but you still stay yourself. I don't know if that makes sense, but I really like my male, my anti-heroes or my heroes to, I guess think about, I read I did years ago, but I haven't read any lately. They're vampires, Dark Brotherhood,
Black Dagger. Black Dagger Brotherhood.
And what I loved about the ones that I read were these guys were these horrible, mean vampires, but
Mhm.
they were wonderful when they were with the woman that they loved. And they're also wonderful when they're with their friends, but they had this capacity of being these awful, mean vampires. So I think that I see some of that in my characters. I mean, I think that's probably where I got a little bit of it. I really like that. I like that they could be tough and run businesses, or I don't know, eat people if you're a vampire, and then but then come back and be this loving, caring alpha macho man with the woman they loved.
Okay, so I have read every single book that you have published, and I've noticed that there is a bit of a progression with your novels that has really kind of amped up the way that you give us action and sort of ruthlessness. Was that planned, or did you always want to sort of explore the extra? The extra sort of visual?
I think I'm more comfortable in my writing than I was when I first started. I mean, I think I would hope I am. I hope I'm better at it. I mean, the more you do something, you should hopefully get better at it. And I think that I am more comfortable giving that information than I was before. And I mean, maybe in a little bit, I'm also like, I want to tell it this way. If it's too much for somebody, then don't read it. I mean, but I want to give you what I see in my head. And I know you and I talked about a scene where somebody bounces one time, and my betas loved it. And I mean, they were writing me back, and they were like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you did that." And I was like, I thought it was kind of like dark humor. It was like, okay, this, it was a really tough, stressful situation, but like, oops.
Yeah.
She bounced.
Oh yeah, loved it. I loved it. It definitely caught me. It's part of so to let you guys in on the sort of inside joke that me and Aleatha have is that in one of her Sparrow Web's sagas, or part of the Sparrow Web saga, one of the series, the trilogies, there's a scene with our main male character where he gets very dark and does something very I wouldn't say out of character, because it was very much in his character to do it, but it's a very different action than something that Aleatha had written previous, and it caught me off guard, and I absolutely loved it. And we now understand that this just her humor. And
well, I think the thing is I mean, like, these guys don't pretend to be nice guys. I mean, the Sparrows, they're the mafia. So, I mean, they go out and they do mafia stuff. It's just that that's not always on the page. You're usually seeing the backside of everything. So I think some people get into this little like, oh, they're just so sweet, wonderful men. Well, no, they're not. This is what they do for a living. So,
right.
I'm just showing it to you.
Okay, so speaking of the Sparrow Web saga, which I absolutely love, you have a interracial couple that is involved in that series. Do you foresee yourself writing another interracial couple, or something like that?
I don't know. I've gotten interesting feedback, not all positive. So I'm not sure. I mean, it's one of those things that I kind of feel like I don't know. I mean, it's going to have to come to me, and there's going to have to be a story. I'm not going to make a couple interracial or any ethnicity to sell a book. If they're the right people to be together and their story is the right story to have together, then I'll write it. I mean, I've also been asked about like male, and again, I just don't know enough about that to write. I feel like I don't know enough to write it. I mean, I have friends, but I'm not asking those questions. So I don't need to know all that stuff. But the same thing. I mean, I don't know. I love Lorna and Reed. I think they were so perfect together. As a matter of fact, I just wrote a novella about them that is going to be in Color Theory 2. Yeah, Renita is putting out. So that is coming out in June. So I do have a new novella about Reed and Lorna.
Oh, so excited about that.
So you get to see a little bit of them in the future.
Yes, that'll be amazing, because they were one of my favorite characters or favorite couples for the saga. And I was chomping at the bit to get their trilogy, and their trilogy ended up being the last trilogy.
Mhm. It did.
Did you have sensitivity readers or anything like that?
I do.
For that.
I do. As a matter of fact, I even did for the novella, just because, I mean, I don't want to try to do anything that I'm not supposed to do, but I want to make it as real as I thought I could. And so I was told I did okay. So that's good.
Yeah, I think you did. I think you did a phenomenal job.
Well, the reason that theirs was the last though is because they were a couple from the beginning. So they were married in the very first book. So you never, I mean, like at first I honestly didn't know I was going to be writing 4 trilogies. I mean, I just wrote The Web of Sin, and then I was like, I could write this story and then this. Yeah. So it just worked out. And then it was like, well, I've got to tell Reed and Lorna's story too. That's not fair to them to not get their story out there.
Right.
So yeah. No, I loved them both. I love that Reed is super, super, super intelligent. And he is like, the brains behind a lot of the stuff that the Sparrows do. And you knew that going through all the different trilogies, but you got to see it a little bit more when you had him on the page.
That couple was very much the glue of the group.
They were.
And it completely made sense that they were the last trilogy to be written, because they are the glue, and they were a married couple. It wasn't about them coming together, even though we get to see their story as them coming together, sort of, but you knew all this other information. It just wouldn't work. It wouldn't have worked getting it in between. So
yeah, I think so too. Yeah. I think so too. I think that we needed to know more about the other characters to understand Reed and Lorna too. And the fact that they were there from the beginning. I mean, and Lorna's relationship with Sterling and, everything.
Yep.
Yeah,
exactly. So if you were to pick one of your series or standalones to become on the big screen, either in movie, TV, or limited series format, which format would it be, and which series or standalone would it be?
Honestly, Jeff and I talk about this all the time. We're like, we go to the beach and we're like, see a big boat. We're like, well, when we get that movie deal, okay, which hasn't come along yet. But honestly, I would love to have the Sparrows on like Netflix. And I don't mean limited time series. I mean, I've got 12 books. This thing could be, I'm not saying I can be Outlander, but I'm saying it could be like a long going show.
Right.
And you could keep bringing more people in and more stuff in. I just think that it has the material to be a longer show. I think for a movie, because movies are hard. I mean, like, you love a book and then the movie comes out and you're like, okay, it was good, but there's so much that they didn't put in there, where I feel like on TV or a series, you get more of that. I would say probably one of my standalones, and I'm going to maybe say Kingdom Come. I think I'd like that.
Okay.
In a movie.
I could definitely see that one as a movie. You completely surprised me by making that a standalone and giving all those twists and turns and it being a standalone. I was like, what is she doing to me right now?
Even long. I know. I think it's funny that my worst review on Amazon is a 3-star, and it says good book, but unbearably long. So I was like, okay, well, yeah, it's long. It's 500 pages. I mean, it's a big book.
Oh, yeah. When I received it in the mail, I was like, oh, my goodness. I did not realize that this book that took me a day and a half to read is 500 pages.
Yeah. I was told I had to do a standalone. So that's why, to be in that Underworld Kings. And as I was writing it, I was like, I don't know. I was like, I do not know how I'm going to end this. I really wasn't sure. I knew I wanted, obviously an HEA, that's what romance is about. But I'm like, these two people are on different sides of the country. How am I going to get them together? Like, what's going on? So yeah, when that final thing comes and you're like, oh my gosh, I can do this. It is the best feeling. I love it. I really enjoy it.
Amazing. So we have determined that you are a pantser, but there are so many little Easter eggs within your stories. Do you do that on purpose?
Yes.
We're just gonna go simple answer. Yes.
The thing is like, I think that, for example, I think it's in in Green Envy. Van is sitting there with a friend of his, and they're talking at a restaurant, and she says something about, I don't know, he says something like write it on a napkin, or she says write it on, I don't remember. And one of them says, oh, our napkin's legally binding now. And I mean, that totally, if you haven't read any of my other stuff, I mean, it's just conversation. It doesn't mean anything to you. But if you've been with me since Consequences, you get it. And I mean, I can't tell you the number of direct messages and PMs I got from that one line that people were like, oh my gosh.
Well, just the mention of infidelity is a huge Easter egg as well. So
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's not to spoil anything with any of the stories.
Actually,
and I love
it's in the blurb of book 1 that he knows Knox. Yeah. So that's in the blurb. If you read it on Amazon.
See, this is me not reading blurbs. So
okay. But yeah, it's not a spoiler. So
okay. Okay. So what else was I going to ask you? There was something else. How far ahead are you with your writing?
I am currently writing something that, well, is coming out in June, because I have to have everything 60 days. Well, I have to have it done really 90 days ahead of time so that it can get edited, because my editor takes about a month. She does 3 rounds. And then I need to give Audible 60 days to record it. So I have to have everything done 3 months in advance.
Oh, wow. So are all of your titles in Audible?
All except my Indulgent series, my little novellas, my BDSM novellas.
Okay.
Those are not, but everything else is.
Uh-oh. Okay, there we go. Whew. You froze there for a second. I was like, oh no.
Hopefully it wasn't like a funny look on my face. Yeah. So they're all in Audible. And I want the simultaneous release if we can do it, because it just is nice to have it.
That's awesome. Well, after my sort of health issue from last year, having things on Audible or in audiobook format is so helpful when it comes to reading and things like that. So I greatly appreciate personally having the Audible version or audiobook version available. So we talked about sort of the books that you have. Are you completely traditional, or are you independent, or a hybrid of both?
I'm a hybrid. I'm almost completely indie. The only books that I have that are traditional are Into the Light and Away from the Dark. Everything else is self-published.
Oh, wow. Who is it through Mott Lake that Into the Light?
Thomas and Mercer, which is another Amazon publisher. Yeah, another Amazon. Okay. I mean, Mott Lake is their romance, and Thomas and Mercer is their thrillers and mysteries.
Okay. So you have a lighter side set of books. Oh goodness, I couldn't get that out. Okay. Can we talk about those just a little bit? Sure. Just in case someone is not into or wants to sort of start with something lighter than the darker romance, twistier psychological stuff. You have a light side, so explain to us what that is.
It's the lighter side of Aleatha. The first one was a romantic comedy, and the second one's more of a sweet romance. The third one was, I'd say sweet, but also there's funny parts. And then the last one is Friends to Lovers, and it is funny. I mean, like, it's a rom-com contemporary. They all are, and they're all standalone, so you can read them all in any order. There's no connection. Well, there is a connection between two, but it wouldn't mess anything up to read it. But yeah, so I mean, they're just fun. Like, and before I ever became an author, back when I was reading, J.R. Ward, I would read like 1 or 2 of her books, and then I'd have to throw a Janet Ivanovich in to lighten my, my thoughts for a while. And then I'd go back and read more about the vampires. So that after writing the Infidelity series, which I wrote for like almost 2 years solid, I needed just a break. And that's when I wrote +1. And I mean, I had fun with it. And, the +1's done really well. But the 8 people who have read the other 3 books seem to like them mostly. But
what do you mean 8 people? I've read the entire other series.
Okay, well, the other 7 liked it too, so that's good.
So if someone was to ask you where you should start because I have so much trouble. So I figured I'd just come to you and ask you, where should we start to get into your books? Where would be a great place to start?
I mean, honestly, I would say with whatever's the newest series, because I want to say that I feel like my writing has improved. And so when people, I mean, like, don't get me wrong, I love Consequences. I love the fact that Consequences got me here.
Mm-hmm.
But it's when I read it, I'm like, ooh, like I needed help. And like, I mean, for example, I remember getting a review, and this is just like a rookie mistake, but it was a review that there were 6 pages of wedding dress shopping. And I was like, but by golly, I put a lot of work into that. I mean, I spent a lot of time looking up all these wedding dresses. Nobody cares. Nobody cares that you spent that much time doing wedding dresses. So just get to the wedding dress. So, I mean, I think that I worry when people say they're starting with Consequences. I'm like, oh my God, they're never going to read me again. But if they start with something else, I mean, like, I would either say start with what I'm currently writing, like the series that I'm doing right now, or my most recent finished series, and then go from there.
Interesting. I love that answer. Well, I will start using that then. And so you have a series, or you're writing within a series of standalone books, called Coincidentally. Is that correct?
No,
it's
no. Quincent. I'm not gonna be able to say it. I need to look at it. Okay. Well, we're going to say it starts with a Q.
Right.
And the idea is that there is a shop in a small town. It's going to be a small town, contemporary. And there's a shop called Quintessential Treasures. That's it. Quintessentially is the name. And it's based on the name of the shop, which is Quintessential Treasures. So there we go.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty. I will have that link down in the bottom in our description box, because neither one of us can really say that word. So
yeah,
it's going to be
quintessentially, though. I'm getting it. That's it. Quintessentially. Mm-hmm.
So that's a series that is a bunch of authors that have come together. Is that correct?
It is. It's a lot like similar to Underworld Kings, which Kingdom Come came out in originally, which was all a multi-author series. And we all write our own books, and they're not necessarily connected. Actually, with Underworld Kings, we did have a couple, like they had a couple locations they wanted us all to put in to kind of bring them together. But with this other one, it's called the ABCs of Love, or ABCs of Novel or something. And so yeah, there's a book for every letter.
Nice. So let's talk about your most recent release of Green Envy in the Sin series, which I'm loving all the twists and turns. And once again, you gave me a jaw-dropping ending that I had to read like 2 to 3 times, I think it was. Okay, mind you. So where are we going with that? Because it doesn't feel like I'm feeling like there may be more to this story.
Well, the thing is there has been more to it since the beginning. I did say I'm not a plotter, but I knew how many books I was going to write, and I knew their titles, and I had their covers made. So there we go. So it's not like I just keep adding things. So yes, they're, actually, hopefully when this comes out, Gold Lust will have released, which is book 3. And then Black Knight will be the final book that will come in June.
Ooh, so we're gonna have a quad.
Yep.
A quartet.
A quartet.
That's awesome. I am
because the truth is I've kind of patterned this a little bit. I mean, the story's totally different. I don't like cookie cutter stories, but I patterned it after Infidelity, which has been probably one of my best sellers. And people just love Knox and Charlie. We haven't given them enough talk during this little time here either. Right. But so Van knows Knox, and that the feel of, I mean, this isn't mafia, this is high finance, kind of like what was going on with Knox and Charlie. So yeah, there's 4.
Oh,
I never said it was a trilogy, because I'm going to get lots of people mad at me. Never said it was a trilogy. I never said it was a duet. I never said anything. I just said it was a series. Yeah. And people just made their assumptions. But yes, it's going to be 4.
Love it. Love it. So excited about that. So let's talk about the covers, because your covers are very unique. Why or if you have a reason, why do you use so many sort of object covers?
You see those back there?
Yes,
That's all of them.
beautiful. Beautiful. They're so beautiful. I love it.
I mean, I think I'm kind of known for object covers because I started with object covers. I
Mhm.
think it's funny right now, and this is not a plus or minus. Actually, it is a plus. I think they're great. But now the discrete covers that people are putting out, which is
Mhm.
fantastic. I think that's great. But I guess I've always had discrete covers. That's what I was thinking when I was
Yep.
looking at some of them. I've always had discrete covers.
Yeah.
I mean, you can read, a really hot scene and
Uh-huh.
basically you find one, sit there and no one knows what you're reading because it's all
Yep.
that is. So
It's
yeah,
just a ribbon.
I mean, I just think, I don't know, I like them. I know some people don't, but that I did try to go outside of that with Devil's Deal, Angel's Promise, and then Kingdom Come.
Mhm.
And I mean, I like those covers too. And I wanted them to be different, but I just really like, as a matter of fact, I'll tell you what, she first made people covers for these.
Ooh.
And my designer did. And I was
Mhm.
like, and we both liked them, but I was like, hey, can you give the ribbons a try? And when she came back with the ribbons, I mean, I was like, I love the ribbons.
Yep. Yeah. I like the way that I know that I'm reading an Aleatha book if I have that sort of object, and
Mhm.
to figure out how those objects on your covers play into the stories, which they always do, you guys. So no worries when you look at a cover. Let the cover draw you in on Alethia's books because they're going to be explained within the story, and everything like that.
I
So
have amazing cover designers. I can't take credit for any of it. I have amazing cover designers.
So let's do something random. I have 3 questions here. They're very random. She provided me with her favorite number, and I picked some cards. So,
Okay.
what is the weirdest thing you've ever eaten?
The weirdest thing I've ever eaten. Um, I don't know. I mean, I like oysters. They're a little odd, but I
You're not an adventurous person, like eating some type of sushi or anything like that. That's
oh, I love
not
sushi too. No, I like
okay.
sushi. So I've had sushi. But I don't know what, I guess I don't know what weird is. I mean, like to me, okay, my son made Brussels sprouts one time on the grill. I'm not a big Brussels sprout fan, but I ate them or I tried them and I did like them. It was weird how he made them on the grill, but I was like, Brussels sprouts, really? I mean, he didn't grow up with Brussels sprouts, I can tell you that. But
Uh-huh.
they were very good. So I guess Brussels sprouts are my weirdest
Okay.
thing.
Okay. So, what do you consider the most overrated virtue?
What do I consider the most overrated virtue? These are just really random questions.
Yes, very much
Um,
so.
I guess what's really bad is I'm thinking of the 7 sins. I'm not thinking of virtues here. So I'm like, oh, well, indulgence is a big one. No, that's not what you're asking me. Virtue. I can't tell you what the most overrated is, but I can tell you what the most underrated is, and that's just honesty. I think honesty is important. I mean, so I would say it's underrated. As far as overrated, maybe beauty. I don't know if that's a virtue, but I'd rather have someone who's real than someone who's beautiful.
Okay. Okay. So, would you rather blow up 100 balloons or lick 500 envelopes?
Oh God, neither one. I am way too old to be blowing up balloons. Let me tell you that. Unless I've got a little thing there and I'm just sticking them on and tying them off. And I hate licking envelopes. It's a problem I have because my generation watched Seinfeld, and we watched. I'm trying to think of the guy's name, but his fiance died because she was licking all the envelopes for their wedding, and she got poisoned. So see, now I won't lick envelopes.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's a
Yeah.
comedy, but it was good.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Aleatha, thank you for spending a little time with me.
Oh, thank you
And
for having me.
I will have all of your links for everything that we sort of talked about, and how you can get to her books and her newest releases and everything like that down in the description box. But I wanted to
Wonderful.
say thank you, thank you, thank you oh so much.
Thank you, Stephanie. I've had a good time. It's so good to talk to you.
Okay, so that concludes that interview. I hope you guys found some interesting information about Alethia's writing, and you will go check out her books. Like I said, all of her information and links and things like that will be down in the description box for you guys to check out. As well as, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. Also, there is a feedback form down in the description box so you guys can help me improve my channel. My PayPal, my Patreon, and all my other social links are down in the description box as well. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you guys later.